U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo discusses diplomatic military ties with the Prime Minister Imran Khan and Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi. Former CIA director tells Prime Minister Imran Khan he was pleased with his meeting with Qureshi. Khan says he is hopeful of finding a new way forward with Washington. Federal Cabinet forms task force to bring money illegally stashed abroad. Cabinet decides to establish task force to revamp education system across country. Information Minister Fawad Chaudhry says Cabinet gives approval to abolish discretionary funds of ministries and divisions. Supreme Court orders formation of joint investigation team to probe rupees 35 billion money laundering case. Zair-E and Majid's counsel presents arguments against formation of JIT to probe the case. Court says names of the members to be announced late. UK Brexit Minister Dominic Raab says we are making progress with EU and deal inside. Britain is due to leave the EU on March 29, 2019, but has yet to secure an agreement to define future relations with world's largest trading bloc. United Kingdom names 2 Russians for attempted murder of Skripal's. European arrest warrant issues for 2 Russians, Alexander Petrov and Ruslan Bosharov. UK says Chagos Island is bilateral dispute, not world court's jurisdiction. Britain went on to lease Chagos Island's biggest island, Diego Garcia, to United States in 1966. Prince Harry, Meghan honors seriously ill children, young people. World Child Awards celebrate inspirational qualities of UK's seriously ill children and young people. World's best surfers take on man-made waves ahead of Surf Ranch Pro. Surf Ranch Pro makes its debut in World Surf League on September 7th. Israeli filmmakers Gedai raps to Israel in letter to a friend in Gaza and asks fellow Israelis to examine their conscience. Gedai denies from Drew any comparison to Nazi Germany. Crazy Rich Asians, part of revolution for representation of Asians on screen. Romantic comedy is based on 2013 best-selling book of the same name by Kevin Kwan. And Paris floating fashion show returns with all-female designers. Designers include Alateria Zohra from Oman, Nuria from USA, Bangladeshi brand Zuan Ash, and Japanese designer Yumi Katsura. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. A very warm welcome to 92 News HD. My name is Faik Mahmood. Starting off with the top story today, Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi said that Pakistani authorities presented realistic stance to the US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo in the bilateral meeting at the Prime Minister's house.
US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo arrived in Islamabad and held meetings with Prime Minister Imran Khan at Prime Minister's house. Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa, Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi and other officials were also present. Qureshi said that there was friction in the US-Pakistan relations from last 1 year in a press conference held at the Foreign Office to brief journalists over the series of meetings between Pakistan-US authorities.
Do more का मुतालबा हुआ, उसके बरक्स willingness to move forward का एक पैगाम मिला.
Qureshi said that Afghan war has no military solution, adding that the US Foreign Office will lead negotiations with the Taliban.
अमेरिका कोई अफगानिस्तान पर बेजा वक्त के लिए अपना फुटप्रिंट नहीं रखना चाहता। टाइमलाइन तो आप नहीं दे सकते, वो ग्राउंड सिचुएशन पर और वहां की सूरत हाल से लिंक्ड है, लेकिन एक बहुत बड़ा इसमें एक इशारा भी हमें दिखाई दे रहा है।
The foreign minister said that in today's meeting, Chief of Army Staff General Qamar Javed Bajwa and ISI Director General were present in the meeting, unlike in the past perception that the US authorities used to visit GHQ after meeting with Prime Minister.
The Federal Cabinet on Wednesday decided to establish a task force to bring back money illegally stashed abroad. It also formed the Task Force for Education Sector Reforms. Information Minister Fawad Chaudhry also announced that the Cabinet had given its approval for abolishing discretionary funds of various ministries and divisions.
Prime Minister Imran Khan presided over the meeting at the PM's house. The cabinet took up an 8-point agenda and took some important decisions. Information Minister Fawad Chaudhry announced the salient decision at a press conference. Chaudhry said the cabinet has decided to establish a task force to bring back money illegally taken abroad by Pakistanis and stashed there. He said a special unit had been established at the Prime Minister's house to overlook the process. The minister announced that the cabinet had accorded approval to the abolition of discretionary funds of several ministers and divisions. He said the Prime Minister had taken notice of the loss to the National Exchequer owing to the delay in completion of a Tarbela Dam project.
तरबेला का ये मंसूबा मुकम्मल नहीं हुआ था, इसका सिर्फ फीता काटने के चक्कर में इफ्तिताह पहले कर दिया गया, वहाँ पे सैलाब आ गया, 25 अरब रुपया पाकिस्तान के अवाम का इसमें डूब गया और प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब ने इसकी इंक्वायरी का हुक्म दिया है।
Prime Minister Advisor on Accountability Shehzad Akbar said the Asset Recovery Unit included representatives from National Accountability Bureau and the Federal Investigation Agency.
Recovery Unit के अंदर 2 से 3 माहिर लिए जाएंगे जो कि चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट, फोरेंसिक अकाउंटेंट और इंटरनेशनल लॉयर्स होंगे और किसी भी दीगर महकमे से किसी मेंबर को या किसी इंडिविजुअल को कोऑप्ट किया जा सकता है।
The Information Minister said the cabinet had decided to take measures to improve relations with overseas Pakistanis. He said the same curriculum would be taught at all public schools and seminars. Measures would be taken for protection of children and eradication of child labor.
The Supreme Court on Wednesday ordered the formation of a joint team to investigate a fake bank accounts case allegedly involving rupees 35 billion money laundering. Counsel for former President Asif Ali Zardari and banker Anwar Majid argued against such a team. However, the court ordered that a team be formed. The names of the team members will be announced later.
The Supreme Court has ordered the formation of a multi-agency team to investigate the money laundering case. The court dismissed the request of shifting the trial to Islamabad. We are forming a JIT. I will submit a report on the matter every 15 days, the Chief Justice of Pakistan said. The court directed Rangers to provide security to FIA members investigating the case. During the hearing, top judge remarked that Asif Zardari should have demanded JIT by himself. He said that Zardari is a former president, adding that he might got opportunity to form government again. Further, Justice Ejazul Ahsan remarked, we are forming a JIT in light of FIA's statement that they do not have the expertise. If the suspects are not guilty, then they will get a clear chit, he added. Abdul Ghani Majid's counsel said his client were facing solitary confinement, responding to which Chief Justice said they were not kept in solitary confinement, adding that he had witnessed a lot. The Chief Justice directed the Anwar Majid and Abdul Ghani Majid be medically examined in Islamabad and the medical reports submitted to the court.
An accountability court in Islamabad on Wednesday summoned former Prime Minister Raja Pervez Ashraf, former advisor to Prime Minister on Parliamentary Affairs Dr. Babar Awan and 5 others in a reference pertaining to Nandipur Power Project. The hearing of the case will commence from September 18.
An accountability court in Islamabad has examined the Nandipur reference and ruled it valid for a regular hearing. The scrutiny was undertaken at the Accountability Court 1. The trial will get underway at Court 2. Judge Arshad Malik will hear the case. The court has summoned Raja Pervez Ashraf, Babar Awan and 5 others on September 18. The reference filed by the National Accountability Bureau alleged deliberate delay causing 27 billion rupees losses to the National Exchequer. The suspect include former Ministry of Law and Justice Secretary Muhammad Masood Chishti, former Law and Justice Division Secretary Justice Riaz Kiani, research consultant Shamela Mahmood, former Law and Justice Division Senior Joint Secretary Dr. Riaz Mahmood and former Water and Power Secretary Shahid Rafi. The court will hear the case on September 18.
An Islamabad court on Wednesday sentenced to 6 years imprisonment a man it found guilty of harassing and blackmailing girls using social media platforms. He was also fined rupees 400,000.
An Islamabad court convicted the man involved in harassment and blackmailing girls on social media platform for 6 years imprisonment sentence. Session Judge Tahir Mahmood announced the verdict in the case. Amir Shams used to harass girls over social media and used to blackmail them. Cybercrime Wing of Federal Investigation Agency had investigated and registered the case. The court announced 6 years imprisonment sentence and fined rupees 0.4 million. Falling crime was proved in the court. The culprit will have to remain in prison for 6 more months in the case of non-payment of fine.
Dr. Arif Alvi was declared on Wednesday to have been elected President of Pakistan. Chief Election Commissioner Justice Sardar Mohammad Raza retired made the announcement. The Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf candidate polled 352 Electoral College votes.
The Election Commission of Pakistan has announced official result of presidential elections held on Tuesday. Chief Election Commissioner Justice Sardar Mohammad Raza, being the returning officer, compiled the result in presence of all the 3 candidates. According to official results, PTI's Arif Alvi was elected President of Pakistan, securing 352 votes. Joint opposition candidate Maulana Fazlur Rahman, who had the support of 5 political parties, bagged 184 votes, and Pakistan People's Party's candidate Etazaz Ahsan received 124 votes. According to Election Commission of Pakistan, total 1,110 members participated in the electoral process. During the tabulation process carried out by Chief Election Commissioner, 1,082 votes were declared valid and 28 votes invalid. No vote was rejected in the Baluchistan Assembly. The results have been sent to the federal government for notification.
Welcome back. After the break, British Prime Minister Theresa May said that Britain was still working towards reaching a Brexit deal with the European Union in October.
With Britain yet to secure an agreement to define its future relations with Brussels, officials have said the October deadline is expected to slip into November.
We are working for a good deal. We're still working, as are the European Union, for the timetable that was set of October, because we're leaving the European Union on the 29th of March 2019. We will need to pass legislation in this House prior to our leaving the European Union. But he talks about no deal, that he talks about a deal. I'll tell him what would be bad for this country. That would be signing up to deal at any price whatsoever, which is the position of the Labour Party. That would destroy jobs. That would be bad for the British people.
Britain is due to leave the EU on March 29, 2019, but has yet to secure an agreement to define future relations with Brussels and manage the economic impact of ending over 4 decades of integration with the world's largest trading bloc.
An exit deal between Britain and the European Union is within sight, Brexit Minister Dominic Raab told Parliament, as lawmakers from opposition parties told him the current negotiation plan had little hope of winning their approval.
Britain is due to leave the EU on March 29, 2019, but has yet to secure an agreement to define future relations with Brussels and manage the economic impact of ending over 4 decades of integration with the world's largest trading bloc.
On Friday, I was in Brussels for the 4th time since I became Secretary of State for a further round of talks with Michel Barnier. We had an extended discussion covering outstanding withdrawal agreement issues, internal and external security, and our future economic partnership. We've injected some additional pace and intensity into the negotiations as we reach the final phases. The vast majority of the withdrawal agreement has been agreed.
Rob was upbeat when delivering a summary of progress in the negotiations to Parliament on its first day back after the summer break.
In the course of August, we made further progress across a range of the outstanding separation issues, including protection of data and information, the treatment of ongoing police and judicial cooperation in criminal matters, and ongoing union judicial and administrative procedures after exit. So the scope and the contours of the withdrawal agreement are now clear, subject to some further technical detail that we will of course continue to work on.
However, other lawmakers were less positive, indicating that May's minority government will struggle to find support for whatever deal it strikes with Brussels.
Brexit Committee Chairman Senator Neil Richmond on Wednesday spoke to 92 News regarding the intra-Irish hard border issues. Here is what he said.
Yes, we are here in Dole with Senator Neil Richmond, chairman of Brexit Committee from Irish side. Plus, he's looking after many other foreign affair matters for Ireland. Neil.
Good afternoon. Thanks very much for having me on.
Neil, tell us more about Brexit. What's going on right now?
The negotiations are at a very intense period at the moment. The Brexit team on the European side is being led by Michel Barnier. His team is meeting every week with Dominic Raab's team in Brussels. They themselves will have another meeting this Friday. We are still working towards a timetable, hopefully to have a deal between the EU and the UK by October, by the European Council meeting in October, which will allow Brexit to come into force at the end of March.
And what do you think about the hard border and the recent updates from British side?
Well, it's very difficult when you're dealing with the backbenches in Westminster who don't have an understanding of the border, or indeed who are trying to dramatise the issue. What we have always said consistently, and indeed the British government have agreed, is that there can't be a hard border on the island of Ireland post-Brexit. And we're now working in a scenario of an agreement that will make sure there won't be, but also that there is a backstop situation that is legally binding to make sure that that will never happen regardless of the outcome of the talks. And we're hopeful that we can agree to something on that by October.
Neil, did you see any soft corner from Britain for Ireland in past few months?
Well, I think the more we talk, the better it is. The European side has been quite clear what their legal interpretation of the December agreement, and indeed repeated in March agreement, was, and we need the British side to bring forward a real tangible idea. It's very, very difficult. It's the issue of squaring the circle, but hopefully the two sides, they're 80% of there, can get out the rest of the way as soon as possible.
Neil, other than Brexit, there's a new government in Pakistan right now. They're just newly elected. What do you think about new relation with Pakistan?
Well, I think relations between Ireland and Pakistan are very, very important. The Irish government very much wants Ireland to be an island at the centre of the world, especially in the post-Brexit area. We don't believe in nationalist or closed-in policies. We want to deal with all the Pakistani people and indeed the new government in the best operation. There are increasing Pakistani population here. More Irish businesses are doing work in Pakistan, more Irish aid agencies. We want to cooperate as much as possible to do as much commercial and social business between the two countries, and indeed we look forward to our first test match in cricket.
Thank you so much, Neil.
Thanks very much.
Britain's opposition Labour Party adopted an internationally accepted definition of anti-Semitism, trying to diffuse a row that heaped pressure on its leader at a time when the government is struggling over Brexit.
Labour Party Jeremy Corbyn, a veteran campaigner for Palestinian rights, has been criticized by members, lawmakers and Jewish leaders for not fully adopting the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's definition of anti-Semitism. He has promised to drive anti-Semitism out of Labour, but the pledge have done little to appease his detractors, with some suggesting he stepped down for what they describe as his failure to tackle anti-Semitism in the party.
Well, it was critical today that we reassured the Jewish community and were in complete solidarity with the concerns that they'd raised over the last few months. So that's why, as an NEC, we agreed to adopt not just the IHRA definition, which was adopted in 2016, but also all of the examples in full. We also sought to reassure our own members that, freedom of speech speech was not going to be limited. The spirit of IHRA and its definitions was never intended to limit that free speech, and we made that clarification today at the meeting to state quite clearly that the intention of IHRA isn't to limit discourse on the political situation between Israel and Palestine.
Rebecca Long-Bailey, a business spokeswoman for the Labour Party, said the move reassured the Jewish community. She also said the party had reassured members that it would not limit free speech, that IHRA will not limit discourse on political situation between Israel and Palestine.
The Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, congratulated the winners of the World Child Awards 2018, which honors seriously ill children and young people. The Duke and Duchess met with the winners at the pre-ceremony meeting at a London hotel. Prince Harry is a patron of charity. The World Child Awards celebrate the inspirational qualities of the UK's seriously ill children and young people. Former Bank of England Governor Lord Mervyn said on Wednesday preparations in United Kingdom for Brexit were inadequate. He said Britain, the world's sixth largest economy, should consider stocking food and medicines. Calling preparations for Brexit insufficient, Lord King stressed the need for chalking out a strategy beforehand. He also said UK government's position in Brexit talks was one of the weaknesses. British prosecutors identified 2 Russians who they said tried to murder former Russian spy Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia with a military-grade nerve agent attack in England.
Skripal, a former colonel in Russian military intelligence who betrayed dozens of agents to Britain's MI6 foreign spy service, and his daughter Yulia were found unconscious on a public bench in the English city of Salisbury on March 4. Britain blamed Russia for the poisoning and identified the poison as Novichok, a deadly group of nerve agents developed by the Soviet military in the 1970s and 1980s. Russia has repeatedly denied any involvement in the attack. A European arrest warrant has been issued for the 2 Russians, who were named as Alexander Petrov and Ruslan Boshirov. The prosecutor said the police released 2 images of the man.
The Meteorological Department has forecast cloudy weather for Britain today. The maximum and minimum temperatures in London are likely to remain 20 degrees centigrade and 12 degrees centigrade.
The Met Office has forecast a light breeze and cloudy weather for London. Partly cloudy condition for Birmingham. Peak relative humidity in Birmingham was 91%. The maximum temperature 18 degrees Celsius and the minimum 11 degrees. Cloudy weather is also forecast for Leeds. The temperature will vary between 18 and 10 degrees Celsius. The moisture level in the air will remain around 87%. Light breeze and clouds have been forecast for Wales. The maximum temperature is expected to reach 18 degrees Celsius and the minimum 10 degrees Celsius. Partly cloudy weather has been forecast for Cardiff. The maximum temperature will be 20 degrees Celsius and the minimum 10 degrees Celsius. Relative humidity is expected to remain around 89%. It will be windy and cloudy in Glasgow. The maximum temperature in the city has been forecast to remain 17 degrees Celsius and the minimum 6 degrees Celsius. Light rain has also been forecast.
Welcome back after the break. Germany and its partners in the European Union are putting all their energy into securing a deal with Britain on its planned exit from the bloc, Chancellor Angela Merkel said, but added there was no guarantee an agreement would be reached.
Speaking at a financial conference in Frankfurt, Merkel said that the shape of the future relationship needed to become as clear as possible by the autumn. There are fears that both sides could fail to reach a deal as an informal October deadline nears, which could cause massive disruption and economic damage.
The United States argued that the International Court of Justice should not grant an advisory opinion on the legality of Britain's claim to the Chagos Island in the Indian Ocean, which houses a major U.S. military base.
Britain has overseen the island since 1814 and in 1965 detached the Chagos Island from Mauritius, a British colony that became independent 3 years later.
In addition, I note that offering those assurances underscores the fact that Mauritius is asking the court to adjudicate its sovereignty claim through the guise of an advisory opinion.
Britain went on to lease the Chagos Islands' biggest island, Diego Garcia, to the United States in 1966. This paved the way of construction of an airbase that required the forced removal of around 1,500 people.
The task before the court, however, is to decide how to address the General Assembly's referral of two questions. Since these questions go to the heart of a bilateral sovereignty dispute over territory, answering them would pose a fundamental challenge to the integrity of the court's advisory jurisdiction.
Newstead said the issue was not for the International Court to decide because at its heart is a bilateral sovereignty dispute over which the court does not have jurisdiction. She said Diego Garcia military facility plays a critical role in the maintaining peace and security in the region.
Bollywood actress Kangana Ranaut said there was a dire need to spread awareness on crimes against women and should be encouraged to speak out if they felt something was wrong.
The actress was speaking at Sindh Philanthropy conference held in New Delhi that aims to raise public awareness about community service.
You don't know that it's okay for your brother to have a different upbringing and for you to have different upbringing, because that's the upbringing of every woman around you. So that is being normalized, is what I see, to awaken. Our biggest challenge right now is to, what Shaina ji also said, is to awaken women, and to make sure they don't, this thing doesn't sort of desensitize them, where they feel that what is wrong in it?
Ranaut said that in India, women's upbringing is different from her brothers, and that is the reason when something wrong happens with her, she thinks it is normal and doesn't protest. Therefore, the most important thing these days is to awaken women, the actress added. Sex crimes against young girls and women are widespread in India, and one of the biggest problems is the length of the trials, as sometimes court can take 5 to 10 years to reach a judgment.
Jayesh Kumar Pandya is an antique weapon collector in India's southern state of Tamil Nadu who boasts of unique collections of ancient coins and weapons made from rocks, stones and iron items dating back to the era of Indus civilization.
My interest in this increased from the time of history classes during school, said antique weapon collector Jayesh Kumar Pandyan. I felt like these items needed to be preserved, he added. Pandyan collected these items over a period of years from various parts of the country. He currently owns 50 different weapons varieties and 2,000 odd weapons, most of which are as old as 500 years old. What started as an interest has now turned into a full-fledged hobby for Pandyan, who hopes to open a museum one day where he can showcase his collection to the youth of the country.
Civilians in Idlib are preparing shelters and stockpiling food ahead of an unexpected all-out Syrian government offensive that could deal a final blow to the 7-year-long uprising.
Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has massed his army and allied forces on the front line in the northwest, and on Tuesday, Russian planes joined his bombardment of rebels there, the prelude to a possible assault. Video footage shows residents of northern Idlib on Monday moving mattresses into caves and stockpiling food and water. Residents said they feared a possible chemical attack and made face masks to protect themselves and their children. Idlib and surrounding areas have borne the burnt affairs of Russian and Syrian military airstrikes that have killed thousands of civilians. More than half the area's 3 million inhabitants are already displaced people who have fled their homes.
Welcome back. After the break, Israeli filmmaker Amos Gita's letter to a friend in Gaza offers unflinching criticism of Israel's blockade of Gaza and its lethal response to Palestinian protesters, in which the filmmaker asks fellow Israelis to examine their conscience.
In the non-fiction short, which premiered at the Venice Film Festival this week, Israeli and Palestinian actors read out stories and poetry, including a piece by journalist Amira Hass published in hers called "I Was Just Following Orders." What will you tell your children?
It's a very strong text by Israeli journalist Amira Hass, who is very courageous, who is writing for the Daily Haaretz. And she was living at the time in Gaza, actually, and now she's living in Ramallah. And she, I think, is one of the only voices with her colleague Gidon Levy, which tell us really what is the point of view from the Palestinian side. But this is a piece that she wrote to the Israelis.
Gitai denied that the film drew any comparison to Nazi Germany, where people who committed crimes against humanity often justified their actions as only following orders.
So in a way, it's a metaphor about what can be relationship in a city as divided, as conflictual as Jerusalem. When things get back to normality, there will still be conflicts like everywhere in the world, but not in the level of hostility which is right now in the Middle East.
Gitai also brought a feature film to Venice, A Tramway in Jerusalem, which takes a light-hearted look at very diverse characters traveling together through the divided cities.
Romantic comedy Crazy Rich Asians hit UK cinemas on September 14th. As the first Hollywood studio film featuring a large Asian cast in 25 years, it casts hopes it is a part of revolution for more representation of Asians on screen.
The romantic comedy tells the story of an Asian American New York who goes to Singapore to meet her boyfriend's wealthy and tradition-bound family of a Chinese descent. It's based on the 2013 best-selling book of the same name by Kevin Kwan.
It's about my character. She's an Asian American woman who's in love with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend takes her home to Singapore to sort of meet the family, and she doesn't know what she's getting into because the family is like ultra wealthy and and all the girls in Singapore really want him, so there's a lot of competition and bullying. But really it's a story about identity and finding yourself and knowing what you value in life.
27-year-old Londoner and financial services worker of Chinese heritage, Nicola Wong said she grew up seeing few Asian actors on screen. Showing people of different races on screen is important for showing reality, she added.
I didn't grow up with that many Asian actors on screen, and I don't know how that affected me, but maybe for my kids, if they're growing up and they're seeing people of their own color acting out issues that they resonate with, maybe that will be something that will help them deal with their own personal issues.
For actress Jung Lucy, who plays the fiancée of lead character Nick Young's friend, the film is part of a revolution of Asian actors to play normal characters.
I hope this is the one. I mean, I remember growing up and faced with roles that weren't particularly flattering and just going, I wish that there was some revolution that had been created before me to open the doors for all Asian actors to just play normal characters. And now to be standing here as part of that revolution is like, this is the moment. I can't believe I'm part of it, as opposed to just like wishing for it. So yeah.
The US box office saw an August surge partly due to the film's success. It topped the domestic box office for a third week in a row following its release on August 15, with a cumulative US domestic gross nearing $120 million.
Jessica Min returned to Paris for her 7th and final catwalk on water on one of the city's iconic cruise boats, showcasing 7 female designers from around the world.
The 31-year-old model and entrepreneur from Vietnam is renowned for the unique locations for offer fashion shows, having produced shows on the Eiffel Tower, the Hoover Dam, London Tower Bridge, and the World Trade Center.
You know, I'm one of those people that believes that if you dream and you want to create something strong enough and you put your one foot in front of the other, which we've been doing, things will manifest. And that's exactly what happened today.
The show featured a combination of formal gowns and ready-to-wear dresses, with models walking on the catwalk inside one of the boutique's moches, slowly sailing down the Seine River.
I would like to create an illusion of models walking on water, which is why I did the catwalk arrangement so that guests will sit facing the multifaceted glass window while the boat is cruising. So all the architectural wonder of Paris, such as Eiffel Tower and the bridges, are becoming the normal backdrop for the catwalk.
Min An aims to promote female empowerment and entrepreneurship, showing a mix of well-established female brands and up-and-coming designers.
In this particular show, we actually promote women empowerment. That's why all the designers are female, because I believe in these days of age, at the current time, we have the wave of entrepreneurial women who are able to be adaptable, who are strong and confident, but at the same time also very stylish and intriguing.
Designers included Atelier Zohra from Oman, Nuria from the USA, the Bangladeshi brand Zone Ash, and the Japanese designer Yumi Katsura.
That's all from the news studio. For more details, you can visit our website 92NewsHD.tv and keep watching 92 News.